This is Raspberry Lemonade, the Arnold Palmer of podcasts, a refreshing dive into the stories of industry professionals, both sweet and sour. And now your host, Mr. Levi.
And we're back on Raspberry Lemonade.
That's an
Got
interesting
video
name.
today. That's awesome. We got Isaac
Isaac in the house, in the hotel room.
in a hotel room. We're making do with what we got in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
Why are we here?
We're here for the best mastermind in the world, the Future Flipper Mastermind.
Yep. Shout out to Future Flipper. Shout out to Ryan and all his team. But yeah, thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on the show. But let's get right into it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what business you're in. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Isaac Maring. I'm 18 years old and I'm a full-time real estate entrepreneur / investor. And I say entrepreneur because in real estate, it's not just investing, but wholesaling and flipping and doing whatever you can to figure out how to make money in the real estate world.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So you're how old again?
I'm 18 years old. I just turned
18 years
18
old.
July 23rd this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And already you've got quite the track record for an 18-year-old, in my opinion. And I know in a lot of people's opinion too. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So even I'll just start from when things started I really put my mind to real estate, which was literally just last year, 2021, beginning of the year. I was like, all right, I need to start getting in higher level groups. I need to start networking with local investors, really just put myself in the position to learn more, experience more just in the real estate space. Because at that point, I was pretty much a complete beginner. And I just wanted to know what it was like to be, a real estate investor. So throughout that whole year, I literally watched content like crazy. I put myself on Facebook groups to try to meet up with local investors. I even had one investor. He's a big multifamily investor in my local area in Northfield, Vermont. Actually, mainly Central Vermont he invests in. But he owns 60-something units, and he allowed me to walk through a new property he was buying, and I literally spent a day shadowing him, going to a closing. So that was one of my biggest beginning experiences in the real estate world. And then, after that, I really just wanted to keep networking because it was honestly, it's a great feeling when you really go for higher level things and meet higher level people that are accomplishing great things. So towards the end of the year, Kong had a meetup, and it was in Maryland. If you guys don't know Kong, he wholesales a lot. He does about $3 to $4 million a year, I think, in wholesale fees. And I drove all the way to Maryland. I even had to get my sister to go with me so that we could get an Airbnb. And we drove down, and at that meetup, I met 50 other wholesalers / investors. And one of those wholesalers I just happened to keep in contact with after. And we were like, oh, we're going to do deals together. We're going to do a deal together. Turns out the beginning of November, she comes to me and says she has a deal under contract that she needs help dispoing. So I'm like, I can tell it anyone, the first initial response was oh, I can't find a buyer. There's no way I can find a buyer, and I'm not gonna be able to do it. But then I just completely turned around. I was like, no, I'm just gonna do as much as I can to be able to find this buyer. And I literally went to my computer and tried blasting this deal everywhere. And as soon as I did that, there was a ton of responses, and I was getting so hyped up at that moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to actually find a buyer for this. But anyways, throughout that weekend, I was negotiating with buyers because we ended up actually getting a bidding war. And we sold it $12,000 higher than our original ask wholesale fee. So.
Oh, wow.
That was crazy. We actually split that 50-50 because I was able to negotiate a $12,000 over, and I made $10K, and she made $10K.
That's lovely.
That was my first deal at 17 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I can tell you, like, even in that summer, like when I was turning 17, I was like, oh, there's no way I can get a deal under 18. I can't sign contracts. I can't do this. I can't do that. Like, even other people, like, I tried talking to them, and this was just in my, friends and family, and they're like, yeah, I mean, there's no way you can do that. But I literally destroyed that limiting belief November that year. So that's a big thing. Like, having these limiting beliefs, like, hold you back. They just need to get destroyed because they're not even true, and you can accomplish way more than you might think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's, I'm glad that you said that, like that bit about, everywhere you were kind of going to people right there, like, oh, no, you can't do it because of this. You can't do it because of that. Or your own beliefs too. Like, no, I'm not 18. I can't sign a contract. But like, sounds like the moment that you start focusing on what you could do, that's when things changed, right?
Exactly. That's exactly when things changed. And I can even remember the moment I was outside on my deck, and that's when Kong first shouted out like he was going to be having this mastermind. And I haven't spent any sort of money like that, up to that point on, or not that much on education and going to masterminds, especially because this one was 10 hours away from where I lived.
Also, not only the ticket itself, but also the travel.
Right. The travel and figuring all that out. And even when he said that, I had that almost blockage again. Like, in that moment, I was like, oh, I can't afford that. There's no way I can even get down there. But there was also this other amazing side of me was like, I just got to buy the ticket. So I immediately grabbed my card and just bought the ticket because I was like, once I buy this ticket, I'll figure out how to get down there. It doesn't even matter at this point. Like, I didn't even know if I had a good vehicle to go down there because my truck was just barely getting fixed, and I wasn't even 18 to have a place to sleep. Like, I didn't care. I was like, I'll sleep in my car. I just got to make it down there. So even then, like, I almost had a limiting belief, and I knew I just had to buy the ticket before I even like asked anybody else, because I knew if I asked my mom, asked anybody else, they'd be like, no, there's no way you can do that. And I did that. I bought the ticket, and I told my mom, hey, I bought a ticket. I have to go to Maryland. I think it's September 4th. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I already spent $1,000 on this ticket, so I'm going. Like, the's no way. Like, I have to go.
Have to make it somehow now. Yeah.
So those were two situations where it's like, there was those limiting beliefs. And everybody has them. Even like going forward today, that side always comes in. It's always like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Oh no, you can't. But you got to allow yourself to push through those moments. Even in like an everyday life, there's things that you don't want to do, but you just got to do them because you should, and that's going to get you to the next level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, that deal, like, just those two moments that like really changed my trajectory and what I've come to today and my knowledge in the real estate space today. Because after that, I closed that November 30th. I joined Future Flipper, the rookie coaching program, January.
Okay,
and,
hold on. So you're saying that you closed your first deal without even being part of Future Flipper yet?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that is even more insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, I did, like I said, like that whole year I was really networking, really just trying to figure out the whole business. So I was going on like free trainings, like free YouTube videos. You can literally learn how to wholesale on YouTube. Like, I wouldn't push anybody to, pay for coaching just because they can't find the basics of the information. Because that's not true. It's like all out there, especially if you have no money. There's information out there to get you that first deal or to get you that next step. So I literally, like, that all year, like, was trying to do everything I could to just learn about wholesaling and real estate investing. just, trying to search up markets, learn the markets, how to comp properties, how to figure out repairs, and, how to even find buyers, or how does the process even work. I learned all those basics to get that first deal done before I even joined Future Flipper.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's really crazy. And kudos to you, man, for getting past those, again, the limiting beliefs, right? Because I think a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, like, I know I've been there where it's like, well, I'd like to do this, but no, I can't because of da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Or no, because I don't have this or I don't have that or whatever. For a while, I actually think I could relate to that. I was like, I just felt like maybe I didn't have the resources for it. But you just showed us that you don't necessarily even have to have the resources.
No,
you just got to
do. You just have to figure it out, and then, it's about also finding the right people, and then also getting those resources. Like, you can make the excuse, I don't have this. Then, go out there and figure out how you can find it.
Yeah. How? It's the how. How do I do this? Not I can't. How do I do this?
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yes, because, and we'll get to some other crazy situations and deals after that. So going back to, like, I just joining you in Future Flipper, I almost, I was going this back and forth thing, which a lot of people do. It's to pay for high value coaching, it costs a lot. It's not going to be a cheap, like, $30 thing. That's probably not even going to be a good coach for you, like, honestly.
I mean, it's even, you're right. Like, it's, if you want to get more fit, if you want to hire a personal trainer, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And luckily Future Flipper had their New Year's sale, and that's really what got me in. I even remember this moment. I was New Year's Eve. I was, we were at a New Year's Eve party at my girlfriend's, and literally I was like, I seeing the deals going out for Future Flipper, and right then I was like, oh, should I sign up? I don't know. It's a lot of money. I have the money, but I don't know if I should, because I could probably do deals without Future Flipper. I know the basics. I've done a deal before. And then it's like, but I also want to have that coaching weekly so that it keeps me accountable. It puts me around other like-minded investors, people who are in the same stages as me. So it was like that back and forth. I ended up scheduling a call with Brian, and we literally talked like 40 minutes. And
oh wow, with Brian?
With Brian.
Oh my God.
Yeah, honestly, even that, like, that was crazy. Like, Brian was going to give me the call. I thought like someone from
like a sales rep or something.
Yeah, like now they have more sales reps, but at that time they were like, they've grown a lot this year. But I thought like maybe like someone like Mariella or like a team member was going to reach out to me. And then Brian texted me like 15 minutes before me and it's like, hey, you still good for that meeting? I'm like, oh yeah, like the Brian Davila, like I've seen him on Ryan's podcasts, and I'm seeing what he's doing for himself. So I was like, wait, I'm going to be talking to Brian in 15 minutes? I did not know this.
The nerves kicked in.
Yeah. Yeah. But, we had a great chat. Like, even we got into, like, not even stuff about the coaching program, just having a conversation about each other's lives. And, like, Brian even was telling me how he just made his first $1 million year. And, how that felt for him and, reaching his goals and where he was, even just 2 years ago. It's crazy. Now I've seen, like, some older videos of Brian. And, like, he literally was, like, a beginner asking Ryan questions. It's just crazy to see how far he's grown. Like, I remember I'm looking back through these all-star calls, and he's literally in his bedroom. You see the bed in the background. He's literally trying to ask, some basic questions on how to, flip a property and get lenders and do all this stuff. So it was just, like, that 2-year timeline up to this point. Like, now he made $1 million last year. That's how fast things can change.
Yeah.
So that was crazy to me.
So that's kind of how you joined the program, right?
Yeah, like literally on that call, like I think the main thing was like, well, Brian, I mean, I could go find other learnings, and I could go find free trainings and all this stuff to learn real estate. I could network, and I would learn that way. But I think the main reason why I wanted to join Future Flipper was because I had that community. Because out of 500 people that are in the program, I could just find one person and do a deal with them that I could JV with them, and it would pay for the course.
Yeah.
It would pay for the program. And then I could do multiple after that. So that was literally like it. I was like, okay, I'm going to spend this money, and I can just do one deal out of these 500 people, JV with someone, just like I did before. I found a buyer for another wholesaler that needed help. And that's really like what, I bought like right after that call. He's like, I'll give you the discount today, and, it's only there for today. And I'm like, dude, this is where I go to my next level.
Yeah.
And it really was, because after that, I was on every call. I literally set out my goal to like call one new person in the program every day. And even people knew that up to like April when I came here for my first mastermind, everybody was like, dude, you're that kid that literally reaches out to everybody. And I'm like, yeah. I would like start networking like crazy within the program. I wanted to know everybody. Like I wanted to have connections all over the country so that if a deal came along, if I needed something in their area, we could collaborate and work together. It's all accountability as well. Like I can see what someone else is up to. We can keep each other accountable for like if we're actually taking action or not.
Yeah.
So that's like the networking side. Even with the calls and everything, there was so much knowledge that I didn't even know about that Brian was sharing. Because you don't know what you don't know. So there was so much like value that was given on the calls. I could literally call Brian anytime if I had a question about something. And the big thing was like all the marketing and systems and different types of marketing. I really didn't know all that, and that's what I really learned. And then I started like text blasting and trying to do more cold calling and that stuff. Which, even like looking back this year, I actually didn't even get a deal from text blasting because I stopped, and I can't really blame that on the texting. It was just because I wasn't consistent with it. I was more consistent with the networking side though. I think that's one of my main things I do. Like I like networking more than talking with sellers.
Right. Yeah.
It's definitely more enjoyable.
Yeah. It's more enjoyable. Yeah. Not that you can shy away from talking to sellers. It's something you have to do if you want to get deals. But, even fast forwarding, let's go to June. I was still in school. I played hockey. I had a ton of stuff going on where I really wasn't putting enough action towards real estate. And I knew that. Something that was actually crazy that probably no one else gets to do. I went to a tech center and I convinced them to let me focus on real estate, and that would be my co-op. So in tech, there's a co-op where you can work while still getting credits. So they literally let me go 4 days off of school a week to focus on my real estate business. And that's never been done before. They even told me, they're like, we would have never let anybody else even do anything that's different from their program. I was in diesel technology. Usually you have to go work at a diesel shop. I was doing something that was completely not even in the tech space, really. It was just my own business ventures. So that was something that was really crazy, that they allowed me to open up my time and really focus on my real estate business.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, that's quite the story there, and we're gonna get even deeper now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How did you even get involved with real estate? What started this snowball effect for you? Because some people get into it because of, they are looking for something else, something different, or because they find that real estate is a good, way to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. Others do it because they like the flexibility, they're able to make their own schedule, right, things like that. In your case, where did you even hear about real estate? Like, how did that come to be?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, it's a 17-year-old getting into this space, doing deals. And I don't have that traditional, like, oh, I went off to college for 4 years. That was a complete mistake. I didn't use my college degree. I got into this other job. I absolutely hated it. And then I stumbled upon real estate, and I like snapped my fingers. I was like, no, I'm not doing that job. Like, that's not me.
That's like the typical story.
That's the typical story. And, you know, usually people don't hit that point until they're like at least 25 to like 35, where they really realize, holy crap, I wasted my college years. I partied. I went to this job I hated, but I don't have that. So literally my whole life, and I'm realizing this more now, and I'm starting to understand myself more, where I've been always business entrepreneur minded to go out and hustle and want to make money. I can remember I was in elementary school. My mom worked at the school, and she even had to work like late on the after school program. So I literally stayed at school for 2 hours after that. And I always went onto the computers, and I was always looking up how to make money at whatever age I was, probably like 10, how to make money at 10. And, you know, you always got the traditional stuff. Oh, go mow a lawn, have a lemonade stand. Like, you know, you could probably look up stuff now, and it's all the same stuff like I saw then. So I've always been interested in trying to make money and, you know, hustle out there. And what's even more interesting and funny is that I stumbled upon wholesaling in middle school.
Do a quick recap for our listeners what wholesaling is, just like
Sure.
short summary.
So quick summary of what wholesaling is I sign a contract with a homeowner to sell their property. Now, I just sell that contract for a higher amount, typically to an investor who is the end buyer. So let's just say I put that property under contract at $100,000, and I turn around, I sell it to an investor for $110,000. I profit the difference. So that's the simplest way to put it, because wholesaling is literally just selling paper. You don't, you know, own the property at all. You just have a contract that you're selling. And I learned or I didn't really learn. I was brought to it like in middle school from Jerry Norton, and I saw his stuff, and he was like, oh, you can make 10K, just find me a deal.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I'm like, what? Is this even like real? Like, what do you mean
Sounds
find
like
you a
scam.
deal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of interested in it. I'm like, this can't, like, is this real or is it not? But being, you know, the guy I was who wanted to, you know, figure out how to make money, like, I wanted to really deep dive into this. Like, how can I even actually do this? And I never actually like figured it out. I think I was just too young. I didn't know actually what to do.
Maybe like the concept was still a little too much to understand.
I couldn't grasp the concept at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, 10K if I bring you a property, like, do I just send you the address? Like, what, where do I even send you the address? Like, I didn't know any of that. And then I think again, when it really sparked like my investing side, my other business side and real estate side, was when I think in 9th grade I was one night just like, what am I going to do for my career? Like, I was just super interested. I'm like, what am I going to do after high school? What am I interested in to really focus on now? And I was like, well, people say like they want to be accountants. What is an accountant actually do day by day? Like, people always talk about it like, oh, you know, they told me I'm good at math. Maybe I should be an accountant. I'm like, what do they do? So I literally just
but they make good money.
Yeah, they make good money. Like, you could be great at accountant. And I'm like, I don't even know what they do. So I literally looked up YouTube videos on accounting, and then I'm like, oh, this is actually quite interesting. And, you know, of course, accounting is very in tune with like investing and finance world. So then I came across Graham Stephan, and this was when, you know, I think he had 100,000 subscribers, or like, you know, between 100 to 300. So he already had a good following, and I really started watching his videos, like binge watching that night. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, this is awesome. Like investing and real estate investing, I could buy properties, rent them out, create wealth for myself. I could be an agent and a salesperson. I could just, I could have no limits to how much money I can make as a real estate agent. I just got to sell as many properties as I want.
Yeah.
So that's when I was really interested in the being a real estate agent and investing side. And then I've watched Graham for years, and then eventually, I did stumble upon Ryan when he was first making YouTube videos. I think YouTube just knew. I knew I needed to watch him. I remember Ryan's intros. It's so funny, even hearing his intro music back then, because it just reminds me of where he was, even just 2 years ago. So that's upside point. Literally, social media has brought me down the rabbit hole of investing, real estate, and this whole world.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there you go. So social media can be a good tool when used properly.
Exactly. When used properly, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a huge time waster, isn't it?
It is.
It can be.
It can be a huge time waster. Even I could say this year I've wasted a ton of time on social media, especially nowadays. 4 years ago, it was not like it is today. You click on your social media app and you literally get stuck on there for 20 minutes if you're not careful.
Or more.
Yeah, or more. And I kept
especially with TikTok, I think now.
Yeah, TikTok is the main thing. TikTok really changed the social media space, where it's grabbing your eyes and getting your dopamine in your brain hit after hit. And I've gotten trapped into that myself sometimes. I'll admit, I literally got trapped into it. I had to delete the app, and then as a content creator, I'm I want to create content, so I need to get the app back. And then I got trapped into watching these reels and videos instead of actually creating the content, because when you open up TikTok, you're already watching the video. It's already making you want to scroll.
Uh-huh.
It's harder to go into the creator side because once you open up that TikTok, it's already showing you videos that oh my God, what's this? Oh my God, what's this?
And it usually is something that interests you. So yeah.
Right. And you just want to keep going. It's oh, what's next? Yeah. What's next? So, definitely it can hurt you, but it also can build you. And it also can, help you learn a lot. I've learned so much just from social media.
Yeah.
All my real estate and business sense has been from social media.
There you go. So it's up to you. It's up to us.
Exactly.
And it's a constant battle. It'll still happen from time to time, but
I'm sure with practice, we'll hopefully get better at using the social media, or having the social media work for us rather than us kind of
exactly
being sucked into it.
Yeah. And even just recently in August, I took a break. I was you know what? I'm sick of this. Even Brian, which is why coaching again is very helpful at the beginning of the month. He's set goals of what you want to take away, what's taking up your time that you really need to take out of your life. And I was I need to stop scrolling social media. It's been a problem. I'm literally doing it even 15 minutes at a time. It was worthless.
Yeah.
So I limited it as much as I could. There was a couple of times where I got out and I'm wait a minute, and I got off of it. But even since the end of August, I haven't really scrolled social media like I did before. I'm more into the creating and focused on my business efforts now.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, keep at it, man. And I'm excited to see what you do in the future. And I know you're still working on stuff. Now, we like to get a little personal on this podcast.
Okay.
As I'm sure a lot of the people listening know. So I like to ask about the guests' upbringing, what their childhood was like. Maybe, I don't know, there's been some very crazy backgrounds with some people. We had a guest not too long ago who at 22, I want to say, both his parents had passed away by that age. And he made a successful company, so those types of things definitely mold and shape you as you grow up, and maybe something that happened even in your childhood, you know, that could affect who you are now, or maybe a trait that you have that you still have till this day, and that has somehow helped you in your business. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
So I've always lived in Vermont. We're the Green Mountain State, and many people don't even know our state. You could ask some people and they're like, is Vermont in Canada? And we're like, no, it's in the United States, like in between New Hampshire and New York.
Oh, man.
Like it's one of the 50 states.
I blame that on the school system.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's how rural it is. So I've lived there my whole life. I mean, if you haven't experienced like mountains and nature and stuff like that, like it would be the place to go. A lot of people go during the fall season to see the change of color in the leaves. Winter's great because you can ski. But other than that, you know, it's very small. We have a population of 600,000. So anyway, that's where I've, you know, lived my whole life in that kind of climate. I can say from my upbringing, I mean, you know, even going back to like when I was super young, I went to like a private Christian school. I honestly wouldn't even call myself like a Christian today. My mom was always like pushing like Christianity and church stuff, and then we kind of fell out of it after I was young, and I'm like, this sucks. Like I don't want to keep going to church. Like I want to go like have fun. And I started getting into sports, and it just took over that stuff. So I went to a private school up until like second grade, and then I went to my first public school in third grade. And then I actually went there until fifth grade, and then I transferred over to Northfield, which is my graduating school in sixth grade. So I've only been to 3 different schools. I know like some people like have been to a lot more. But even those transfers, I think for me in my childhood, it was like each time I met new people, new experiences, and going from Williamstown, the school I was in from 3rd to 5th, when I hit Northfield, like I wanted to show everybody like I was, you know, a different person. Like I wanted to be a different person. So I kind of got that understanding of changing of my environment. 'Cause you know, a lot of people might go through a lot of different schools, and some people only stay in one school their whole life. And I got to go to 3 different ones, which one was like a super strict Christian school. Like we had to wear uniforms. You know, we had prayers every day. And then we went to a public school that was like complete, you know, opposite. Like you can do whatever you want. And there wasn't like, you weren't as strict, and that's honestly, I think once I went to public school, I was getting in trouble a little bit more because of that. I experienced a lot more of, you know, I can do whatever. Versus when I was in private school, it was all like, you know, focused, like, don't do this, that's bad. And, you know, dress your uniform, focus on your schoolwork, get it done. And so even like, both my parents are split. They have been like since I was a baby. So like for me, I know a lot of people experience their parents splitting at an older age, and they have those struggles. For me, it was just always accustomed to that because it happened when I was so young. So I've always experienced that. Oh, I'm living with a mom and then go to a dad's on the weekends kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So if that just shares a little bit more, I guess, about my childhood part. I did play some sports in school. I actually played basketball starting in 4th grade, and then I played baseball like when I was super young, and then I stopped. I didn't really like it. And then I started playing again in 6th grade, and that lasted for that whole year. I played for 2 teams in 6th grade, and then I didn't play baseball the next year. I played football in middle school, and I played hockey from 6th grade to when I was a senior, which hockey was a big struggle in the beginning. Like skating, I literally could not skate at all. Like I literally got on the ice and I would fall on my face. So a lot of people like said to me like, "Oh my goodness, like how far you've come from like in 6th grade, I literally couldn't even stay on the ice, into, being a senior where I was, actually a decent player. Even just seeing that kind of growth, I can put myself in that position now in business where it's like, you might step out on the ice and fall on your face, but then you just get back up and keep trying. And then eventually you'll be good enough. And then, as I was in high school, like I was then starting line, I could actually play. So,
yeah. Which now actually you mentioned that you played hockey. Maybe that's why people think Vermont is in Canada. Because they got that idea that only Canadians play hockey, but no, there is a league in the US actually. Right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't call Vermont a big hockey place though. I mean, Vermont's not very big on a lot of sports. I guess maybe skiing. I guess you've gotten professional skiers that have gotten onto the Olympics team.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't have the best sports organizations.
Gotcha. Well, at least you guys do sports.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. All right. Well, I always like to ask my guests to share a sour story, because no matter what career path we take or, business we decide to start or whatever, there's always going to be for sure a very tough situation or a very tough, something that comes up that you have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's just the reality of it. So in your case, what's been kind of one of the most difficult or not ideal situations that you've experienced so far in your real estate career?
Sure. I would say just this year. This year has been a rocky road. Like it's literally like higher highs and lower lows. Especially because the lower lows feel even lower when you experience those higher highs. So although like everything looks great, like I'm 17, 18 years old, doing deals, it doesn't really happen. I'm like 0.001% that has done a deal at 17. Like it's crazy to a lot of people, but it also comes with like, there's a lot of like back end stuff there's a lot of stress you deal with. There's a lot of, I really didn't even think I was going to get my first flip closed. And, even leading up to like, the closing, like that was some of the most stressful times. And even when I bought the property, like I was dealing with a lot of stuff. And then on the, non-business side, on the personal side, there was also stuff going on personally with a relationship I had all throughout high school. So with everything like going on, like I'm trying to figure out my first deal and nothing seemed to really go right. Like everything was going wrong and I just had to keep, pushing forward and figuring everything out. And then on the personal side, I also had a relationship that was really, going back and forth and, in a tough position.
Gotcha.
So I honestly, like I could say like this year has been, my biggest growth year, but it's also been like the toughest year.
Yeah.
The most tough position I've had in my life. Like I could probably go back and through and say, oh my God, like that sucked when I was younger, but I don't think any of them were
to this, to that level.
This degree, like of this year.
Gotcha.
Just cause it's been so much.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've been joining programs since the beginning of the year. But this is also while in school and while like, I really wanted to focus on hockey at the beginning of the year, but I also wanted to focus on business. And then I had school, I had hockey, I had business, and I had my relationship. Like, balancing all those things is super hard. And then I also wanted to be a content creator and create content. So yeah, like balancing everything is like, it's almost like not possible because, I had to like push away a little bit of my business side and content creation side because I knew I wanted to focus on hockey at the beginning of the year. Cause it's my last year. Like I wouldn't have an experience like it again.
Yeah.
Whereas, business can kind of wait.
Yeah.
I'll, do deals eventually. I'll create more content eventually, but hockey was my only time to focus on that. So that's when I realized, okay, I can set aside these other things and get my priorities straight a little bit. And I can say, like, that's when I really started more focusing on hockey too, because I was like, oh my God, like, this is my last time ever playing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I have to, enjoy as much as I can of it.
Definitely. What would you say, because you've mentioned that you have kind of had to struggle quite a bit this year, right? What would you say is like a story on the sweeter side then, that kind of like a highlight so far, that you're like, oh man, I'm on top of the world right now.
Oh yeah. Well, I can tell you, the sweet stuff came after, the bad stuff. Working through that deal, and then, figuring out, every piece of the puzzle. And then when you lost that piece, you have to go search it and find it and put it back in. And like every time I had to keep doing that, and then it finally got all put together. And that was actually just at the beginning of this month when I closed on it, and those funds hit my account. That was a feeling. It wasn't even, it was so weird. Like even a week before closing, I was even like telling myself and other people, I'm like, honestly, the money's great. Like I'm ready for that money to hit my account, but like I was also so ready to just get rid of this property. That's how much of a headache it was. It was like, I was going to make, $50,000 on my first flip that I got at 17. And then I was, closing on the sale side at 18. And I was like, even though I know this money's coming, it's all going to get reinvested. I'm going to invest back into coaching and my business. And most importantly, I just want to get rid of this property. So that was a good feeling once I closed on that. And, once those funds actually hit, I did realize, okay, wow, this is great. I have $50,000 that I can reinvest, and this will be like the start of everything. I now have the funds to join All-Star program. So now I'm here today in this hotel room going to this mastermind because I closed that deal and I joined the All-Stars, and I could afford the trip to come here to reinvest in myself, to meet more people, to be on this podcast, to hopefully get more deals, more lenders. So really for me, that sweet part came when I was like, okay, now I have these funds to start reinvesting and growing myself and take that next level. Because we talked about earlier how I took the next level when I joined the rookie program. And now I took another leap and I joined the All-Stars. And I'm going to be starting to delegate and hire out some of the basic tasks that I really probably shouldn't be doing because I'm not good at, and they're not worth my time.
There you go.
So
yeah, got to stick to what you're good at. Definitely.
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you, and I wish you the absolute best. And I know you're going to do really good. You're already on the right path when it comes to your career. And so, yeah, I wish you the best, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you got whipping up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be, it's going to be crazy, I think, this next year. Just because I'm also thinking about, I live in Vermont now, so it's very small. There's 600,000 people in the entire state. It's very rural, like I said. I'm pretty tapped out if I wanted to grow and scale an investment company, a flipping company. And there's not much of a network there that really can excite me, to be honest. Like, there isn't these high-level people around in Vermont, and if they are, they're not like the same high-level people that you can meet in this program where they are really collaborative. Like, they just want to do their thing. They're older, and they don't want to, teach you how to do anything. Like, right. They want to focus on their own self.
Yeah.
So I want to put myself in an area I can grow into. I call it like, I'm going to get in a bigger tank that I can grow into. So I want to move to Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm planning on, looking for a 2 to 4 unit that I can house hack, keep my living expenses super low or non-existent, maybe even cash flow and on top of that. Because right now I'm super spoiled living with my mom still, and I've literally like little to no living expenses. Yeah. So if I made that shift, and especially with my career where it's like I don't really know when my next paycheck's coming, I need to house hack so that, there's so many reasons why you should house hack, especially if you are alone and like you can build equity. You got the cash flow, and it just takes care of your living expenses.
Yeah, which is the biggest expense a lot of us have, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're brand new, like it gets you to understand real estate a little bit more. Most of the time, I would say like you're probably going to burr that property, so you're going to buy, renovate it, refinance, and then take that cash out and go into something else. And then you're also going to have to learn how to screen tenants properly. How to manage the property. So I think it's a great like learning experience that I'm going to go through, and just to, also have the money and financial side of the benefits, as well as, the growth and learning.
Yeah, definitely, man. Awesome. Last question. For some people, the hardest question. If you had to choose a current life soundtrack, like a song, that kind of fits the vibe of what you're going through right now, what would you say that is?
Man, in my world, it's like all over the place right now. There's, even like I was saying, the higher highs and lower lows. Like there's days where it's like, oh, this is great. Like, I could say like it'd be a song of like, hitting my next levels and, moving up and doing all this. But then there's also these low lows where it's like, oh man, like this sucks. Like, am I gonna even get through this? Kind of.
What's your melancholic song then? Because those are always fun.
I don't know what that is.
Melancholic is like sad and, kind of like gloomy.
So right now, I guess it would be kind of gloomy. The song's called Truth About You.
Yeah, this town's been telling me I've done some things I never did. Yeah, the grapevine starts with a glass of wine and you taking a sip. Every word that you're saying is another step to my reputation, and I can't take it anymore. But you've opened that door. Yeah, there's two sides to every breakup. One's a lie and one's the truth. One of them went down and one was made up, but in the end we both lose. Why can't we meet in the middle? Call it even, call it truce. If you quit telling lies about me, I won't tell the truth about you.
It's a country song. I forgot the name who sings it. But I had a recent relationship that kind of ended, and it kind of describes how everything went.
Oh, man.
Just recently. So,
yeah.
Like, and there was a couple other songs I was listening to, and it's like crazy what, music derives from. Like, it literally is all like relationships and like,
yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It's because it gets people like, this is what people like to listen to.
It can relate to it, especially if you're going through it, living through it, right? Yeah. That's why I love music so much, because if you're happy, there's a song for it. If you're in love, there's a song for it. If you're like super rock bottom and the world hates you, or you feel like the world hates you, there's a song for that too.
Yeah, there's a song for everything. There's a song for our conversation today.
I'm sure that, yeah, I'm having someone work on it right now. Yeah,
like it's interesting where the songs are written from. It's just how like even movies are produced and everything, because it's all about life's experiences with our relationships, our bad moments, and then even going from our bad moments to our good. Like it's all real stuff that happens throughout our life, and that's why it makes the movies good.
Exactly.
Because we all relate to it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. I know this next few days we're both going to be very busy, with the event and things like that, but thank you. And where could the people out there find you?
You can find me anywhere on social media at Izaac Maring, IZAACMARING. I keep it really simple. I know a lot of people come up with these funky names, but it's just me. It's my personal brand. and want to make it easy for you to find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'll be trying to up my posts and provide a ton of value, show you guys my experiences, and just share a lot of my thoughts. So you guys can always follow me there.
There you go. There you have it. Yeah, that's what Levi said. I think eventually I have to shorten that, huh? It's too long. Yeah. A little too difficult. But anyways, thank you so much, man.
I appreciate you, man. And it's great to come on this podcast.
Yeah,
this podcast is gonna be amazing.
Thank you.
I can see the growth.
I appreciate that. I hope so. And out there, if you'd like to join the Future Flipper program, there'll be links in the description, either of this video or if you're listening to it, also on the podcast description. Go ahead, give Izaac a follow him and his journey. And thank you for joining us and listening to Raspberry Lemonade, now on video. Hopefully we can keep that trend going.
Yeah,
but
I know people want to watch as well as listen.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm glad we were able to do that today. So absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you soon. Have a wonderful day.
This has been a Redbird Studio Productions. Hope you've enjoyed the program.